So, one of our favorite shows growing up, and even still, I think it still holds up. I think I watched it I think it was last year, actually.
I think it was like end of last year.
Yeah.
Was it?
Is The Batman 2005, I believe, was the year.
The animated show, not the movie.
Yes, the animated show that came out before the movie. And why don't you talk about why you like it?
All right, so Batman 2005 is one of the Batman I grew up with, and him as well. That and the animated series were the two Batman shows going on at the time. And
I would even say we watched the Batman over the animated series.
Well, we didn't have the animated series on disc, but we did have the Batman on disc.
We saw the Batman more than the animated series, basically.
Yeah. And the Batman is like a really good way to show off a lot of like the different aspects of Batman as a character, but in a completely different way than almost any other show does. It is a lot more light in tone, and it somehow works.
Yeah, and it's definitely the lightest tone Batman. I think maybe not as a show overall, because there are a lot of dark themes, but I would say in the character in particular. Yeah. You will not find a more light Batman like himself.
This is like the happiest Batman to ever exist.
Yeah. It's and it doesn't feel off either. He's just kind of like, I don't know, it's just I want to say chipper. I think chipper is the proper adjective to describe him.
I don't know about that, but
I don't know. That's the one that comes to mind. So, yeah. And the other thing that's interesting about it is typically with DC animated stuff, they will they'll do multiple things with it, right? Like they started with the Justice League show, or no, even it was Batman animated series. Then they did Superman animated series. Then they did Justice League show. Then they did Justice League Unlimited, and that was all with the same art style, same continuity, all that.
Well, different art style from Batman to New Batman Adventures.
They changed it one time. Yeah, one time for the Batman.
Yeah, and Batman Beyond's also in there.
And Batman Beyond. I didn't forget about that one. But like all those shows. And even there's other stuff like we'll talk about another time, the 2013 Green Lantern show and the
Beware the
Batman. But with the 2005 Batman, this is the one and only time they use this continuity.
It's especially weird because they have all of season 5 is setting up the Justice League.
Yep. Season 5, they introduced Superman and Green Arrow and Green Lantern and the Flash. And it was, I'll talk in a second about the choices for the Justice League in a second, but it was just weird because it's like they never did a spinoff. I don't know if there was plans to do a spinoff.
They had a movie. They had Batman versus Dracula.
Yeah, got a movie. That was early though. That was like season 1 or 2. I
think that was season 2, I want to say.
Yeah, I would think 2 because like they had to wait for it to get popular, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is pretty good, and then we'll give it a movie. But it's, I don't know. So the Justice League, I think this is the weirdest choice for the Justice League. So let's look at our Justice League lineup. You have Batman. Batman's first. Then you have Martian Manhunter. He's second. Then we get Superman. And then, I don't know the specific order after that, but then we get, I think it's actually Green Arrow, and then Green Lantern, and then...
Flash comes before Green Lantern.
Oh, Flash, and then Hawkman. What's extremely strange about this lineup is that they are all specifically white men.
It's like especially weird when you realize that it's like Hawkman is there, and there's no Hawk Girl.
Hawk Girl. No
Wonder Woman's just gone. No Black Canary.
You could have done Jon Stewart Green Lantern, which I think it's the most sense why they did Hal Jordan.
I think Hal Jordan makes sense at the time because Jon Stewart wasn't nearly as big.
Well, he was in Unlimited and Justice League. He was that Green Lantern, which they chose him specifically for diversity.
Yeah.
So no Hawkgirl is strange. The other weird thing is Martian Manhunter specifically turns into a white guy again, instead of typically he's, an African American, which is even weirder. That one I cannot think of an explanation for.
I don't know that either. Also, Superman has to be taught by Batman to work as a team, which is the most hilarious thing ever. But somehow it makes sense within the show.
Within this show, it makes sense because of how the Batman is, the character. Like we said, he's more the light and happier version.
Yeah, we didn't even mention Batgirl or Robin yet.
Yeah, which are the youngest versions of both of them, I'm pretty sure.
Batgirl's still in college, actually.
No, she's actually in high school when she gets introduced, because she's not even 16 when she first is shown up. I think she's 15, because there's an episode in season 3. She gets introduced in season 3, and then a few episodes in, she's like getting her driver's license. So she's at least 15 and a half. She's maybe 16. I don't know. They never like talk about her birthday. So
they don't really talk about ages or anything in the show, which is pretty typical for superhero stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, every once in a while, like in Young Justice, they have a whole episode about Wally's birthday, and I think he turned 16 specifically.
Well, Young Justice is at least season 1 is specifically focused on like teenagers, so that makes sense.
Yeah, true.
That's more the exception.
Yeah, but I know it's weird seeing that version of Superman, and it's gonna be weird rewatching it too, just to see how much, like, if there's signs of how the character of Superman has been before he meets Batman, right? Because it's like, has he been a super dark, like, are we looking at a Man of Steel Superman?
That actually,
if Batman never showed up, would he have just been the Man of Steel Superman, where he's like hiding and everyone fears him? But I didn't get that sense. Everyone liked it, so
they tried to keep it lighthearted so that wouldn't happen, but like, it's still an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah. But so how about, let's talk about the villains of this show. And I think one thing I want to say is this show is interesting in the fact that there is no Two-Face and there is no Scarecrow.
Yeah, we have to mention
big two.
We have to mention the Bat embargo that was going on at the time. So the Bat embargo was a stupid rule that happened because of the Nolan trilogy. So basically, the Batman, Justice League / Justice League Unlimited, and the Nolan trilogy were all happening at the same time. Because DC was stupid and thought people would get confused by the different versions of Batman, certain villains and characters were not allowed to show up in other, versions or media. Which is why Justice League Unlimited doesn't have Batman villains, why the Batman doesn't have Two-Face or Ra's or Scarecrow.
So, yeah, that's true. But interestingly enough, Joker still gets in. I think that was the one they had to let go. In Justice League, I think all of those people show up. I think that one.
Well, Bane's also allowed because the only one that was out at the time was Batman Begins and not The Dark Knight.
That's true, because Batman Begins was 2005, I think.
Yeah. So they invented the character of Ethan Bennett specifically for the Batman because they couldn't use Harvey Dent.
Mm-hmm. Although Harvey Dent wasn't in Batman Begins either.
Yeah, so I don't even know. Maybe they just let him use
plans. Joker. Maybe they wanted to use. They knew for sure they wanted to use him in the next one.
Yeah,
so they just said stay away.
Because Catwoman's also in the Batman.
It's specifically the big two are Scarecrow and Two-Face. I can't think of anybody else who's not.
Ra's.
I guess Ra's, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think Ra's would have mixed well. I mean, you kind of have Dracula in the movie, which is practically Ra's.
Yeah, no. Batman vs. Dracula is also kind of weird because there's blood in it.
Yeah, but it's
it's a vampire movie, but like...
Yeah, it's like Disney blood where it only serves as like a plot device. It's
still a really weird choice.
Yeah, it's like only allowed if it's relevant to the plot, basically. And then so the villains also have another weird thing. Besides the art style, which is, I would describe as unique. I don't think it's bad. I just think it may take, a season or two to get used to.
I don't even think that it would take a season to get used to. I just think the art style, I think the most off-putting thing about the art style is honestly probably like specific villain designs, not so much like the characters themselves. I think more so it's the designs of the villains that you need to
well, that's what I was referring to. But it's like the Joker's weird because he has, really long hair. He has like a really oddly shaped head and stuff. Yep. He's the biggest difference.
Well, Catwoman has like the super big goggles
and the
giant ears.
Mr. Freeze actually is interesting because he actually has ice powers like out of his hands instead of just an ice gun.
I think if you are a fan of like, I don't know, cool powers or of Mr. Freeze in general, the Batman will be the coolest Mr. Freeze will ever be. And it's my favorite version of the character design wise.
Yeah, I mean, I am hesitant to say that just because Mr. Freeze's classic design is classic and it's iconic. The whole dome with the red eyes. That's classic.
I do think there's a point though where you can have a newer design.
Oh yeah, because I've always been a fan of that. You can have multiple versions of the character. That's why I like there being like 4 different Robins.
Yeah.
So, but and then Firefly, he has like a suit and lasers.
That is the best Firefly.
Which is the best Firefly because you compare that to other Fireflies, he says a flamethrower. It's like that's stupid. No one cares.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. But another weird thing is all the villains seem to have their motivations completely simplified, and I think that's just to have children understand it better because it was a kid's show.
Yeah.
So, like, you watch the animated series, Joker always has these elaborate schemes and plans or whatever. He still has a bit of that. Like, he'll do things uniquely and have his own, like, flair on stuff. But he always just wants money. He just wants to rob banks, steal money. Same thing with Mr. Freeze. His wife, forget her. He wants money.
Doesn't exist.
Specifically, he wants diamonds.
Jewels. He wants jewels and diamonds, and he also wants to turn Gotham City into like an ice.
Yep. He wants, but he just wants the shiny stuff. Penguin, he's struggling for power. Not really. He wants to claim his family's inheritance or his fortune.
He wants his family fortune. So he actually has a unique motive, but it's still just money.
It's just money, yeah. Who else? Scarface. He wants money.
Catwoman wants cat stuff and money.
Yeah, Catwoman wants cat-related stuff that just so happens to be worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
I don't even know
what for the money, but
what the heck was Man-Bat's motivation?
Well, funny enough, I don't think he only had a couple episodes, and he didn't have a lot of motivation. But there was the episode where Penguin took control of him and used him to steal money. So there's that. Bane is constantly breaking into banks, ripping out vault doors to get some money. Firefly goes, steals money. I mean, literally everybody. I mean, Poison Ivy, I guess, is the only one who actually...
Poison Ivy's really interesting, actually, because she's the only villain that actually gets a full story that's tied to a hero. I guess you could also say Bennett, but Poison Ivy's really unique in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, and then the other one that's, like, talk about Clayface. There's 2 Clayfaces, which is also interesting. The first one's Ethan Bennett, and he doesn't... I don't really count him as a villain, so whatever. The second one is the actual
Basil
Carlo, and he doesn't technically want money, but he steals for the attention because he's an actor. He wants all the attention, but he does end up stealing money to get the attention. So, but there's a little bit more to it than that, so I can give that one a pass. But basically, all the villains' motivation is money, which is I think that also goes to show how well the show is because, almost every episode kind of plays the same.
Well,
but they're all memorable.
The thing is that it's not really about the motivation. It's about the villain's plan and how they get taken down. I think that's where the show shines, is that you know that the villain's motivation can matter, but it doesn't have to matter. You don't need a great motivation for your villain for the villain to be a good villain. And this show knows that, and it owns that.
And the other thing is, I think this is where it takes from animated series, is not only does it have the villain thing going on, there's also usually something that Bruce Wayne going on.
Yeah.
Like there's something he's got to do. I think it's the season 1. I can't remember what the villain is. I think it's Firefly, but he's like late to the city council meeting. You remember that one? I think it is Firefly.
That might be Firefly.
He's like dealing with his like whole legacy thing, his father and all that.
Yeah.
And Alfred's a really strong supporting character in this one. Probably the most prominent supporting Alfred out of anyone ever.
Yeah, I really like Alfred in this show,
With
actually.
the exception of Gotham TV show has a really good Alfred, and then the Beware the Batman, shockingly. But all 3 of them are younger Alfreds. So that's probably why. Because Bruce Wayne is younger in all 3.
Something that's really interesting, actually, I didn't think about until now, is that this is like Bruce Wayne being portrayed as more relatable, despite, being fundraising for his children's hospitals every single episode. It somehow maintains a sense of relatability to his problems. And that's part of where the charm of the show comes in, is that it provides a Batman that isn't just super paranoid and something to be afraid of, but it provides a Batman that's also more of a person and has these struggles and has to balance being Batman with being Bruce Wayne, which is something no other Batman ever captures nearly as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's only able to happen because of the character, the way he was.
Yeah, the lighter tone for the character and him being younger. And it also kind of helps that there's a pretty good supporting cast on the Bruce Wayne side, at least in the first 2 seasons. Because you have Detective Yin, you have Ethan Bennett, you have Rojas, who is hunting Batman down.
More of the antagonist.
Yeah. And then you have like all these other characters that are more specifically tied to the Bruce Wayne side, or have connections to the Bruce Wayne side, in addition to having connections to the Batman side. So it provides this interesting dichotomy between the relationships as well.
Yeah.
They kind of drop that in later seasons, but...
Yeah, I think you lose more Bruce Wayne later on because you have other characters, and then I think they also start focusing more on the villains, like specifically the Riddler one.
Yeah, Riddler's Revenge is a really good episode.
But it's like that's almost 0 Bruce Wayne. I think it's pretty much 0 Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, you get a lot in those 5 seasons. It's kind of like Teen Titans, actually, where it's like it's only 5 seasons and there's only 13 episodes per season, but it's a lot.
There's just a lot of good in the Batman, and it's very underrated.
Very underrated.
Honestly.
And I don't know if it's... I was just saying, I don't know if it's because I've seen it more than the animated series, but I think it's more memorable than the animated series.
I definitely think it's more memorable, just because of all the things that we talked about here, all the stuff it does different. Animated series is kind of like the definitive standard Batman, but the Batman is so different that it sticks out.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
I think we covered basically all the basic stuff. I think if this show sounds interesting, you should just check it out right now. Go watch it. Do it
immediately. No delay.
And why are you watching this video still? Go watch the show.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is. Is it on HBO Max?
I'm pretty sure.
Or Max? Sorry, they changed the title.
Yeah.